journalist, and no, I have technically not ended my break on YouTube yet. I know some of you saw my other video on the Apptrepreneur channel where I basically said I was taking a break from YouTube at least until October, and with the exception of the Apptrepreneur Media channel, which I'm still enjoying updating. Well, that has not changed, and I am still working on some of the long form videos that I promised, but some things are just so annoying that you just have to vent. And I figure, what the heck? It's 1 a.m. I can't sleep. This has kind of been bothering me all night. So, what the heck? I'm just going to talk about it. Now, for those of you who are wondering about the beanie, my wife picked up at a clothing exchange. She said that she thought I would look good in it. And I basically, as much as I love her, am wearing it now to prove that no, it is not going to look good on me. So this will probably make a single appearance on this channel. And then we will go back to the one that actually works. So anyway, me and my wife are big theme park enthusiasts. We're not crazy people. We don't try to go on like 300 roller coasters. We don't, get into these super collectible modes where you're buying all these expensive pins and every single t-shirt that we want, although my wife does love t-shirts. We're big enough to be at least elite members of Six Flags, though. And one of the things we did throughout the pandemic is we actually continued to pay for our annual passes during the pandemic. Now, we did this for a few reasons. One, it was part of the budget, so why not help it out? We also were Six Flags investors. In fact, my wife still is. And so, that's fine. I kind of want to help it out. We could afford it. Also, Six Flags was doing a bunch of really cool stuff. Like, they kept upping the ante on what they were going to give us. Free passes, free, bigger discounts, things like that. And every time we thought, well, maybe we should cancel this, they'd send a new email basically saying, look, we know we're not open yet, but if you keep, subscribing, well, not subscribing, if you keep your membership active, we will do this. Like, I think at first it was, we will give you, we will give you 2 free passes to Magic Mountain every month the pandemic is closed. You can basically bring friends. Okay, fine. We'll keep subscribing. A few months later, maybe we should consider canceling that. It's like, okay, no, we know that's going on, but hey, if you keep it, you will get 60% off on all the merchandise when you return. Okay, we'll keep going. And then they would go like, okay, look, we are going to upgrade you to this new status, a Diamond Elite, whatever, red status, whatever. You can only get this status if you keep subscribed, and you will get like 6 front of the line passes. So they kept upping the ante. Finally, when they knew it was just about time to reopen, and they knew that some people had basically been paying for a year, keeping Six Flags open this whole time, people like me, they actually did start including Fright Night in the annual passes. You're right, Happy Lass. And they finally did the ultimate reward for those of us who stuck with it. Like, hey, since you've been paying for a year, if you don't cancel, when you come back, you will either get an entire additional year of your membership tacked on, so that's a year you do not have to pay for, or you can get all of that refunded on a gift card. Well, me and my wife obviously decide we're going to do the gift card. Why? Because we're not going to cancel our Six Flags pass. At least I thought we weren't going to. I mean, these are still active, but I'm definitely having second thoughts about that, and that's kind of why we're here at 1 in the morning ranting about this. So today, we have actually gone to Six Flags a couple times already, for the record. The gift card has been slow to enact. Actually, so has the guest passes as well, which is a whole nother thing. We still don't have all of those free passes for our guests that we were promised. But since we now have the gift card, and the gift card ended up being worth $641, that's a lot of t-shirts, because we're not spending this money on food. We've got the dining pass. Well, yeah, that's Great. So I think those will eventually come around. But whether I lose my patience with Six Flags before we get to that point, that's a whole nother matter. So we go to Six Flags. I guess technically it's yesterday now, because we have the notice of this gift card that's waiting for us. You know, they're not just going to mail it to us. You got to actually go to the park and you got to pick it up yourself. Okay, whatever. We do go to the park and we figure we would do this. Well, we go to the park and we get there a little later than we usually do because this is a unique day that we are going to Six Flags. We are going to Six Flags and it's the first time we're planning to go there and not go on the rides. We've decided, you know what, we are going to do a shopping day at Six Flags. We are going to go to Six Flags. We will pick up the gift card. We will get lunch and dinner, maybe a snack like a dessert, and we will go home. We will be there maybe 4 or 5 hours. You know, we won't do any rides. Won't do any of that stuff. That was probably a good idea because Six Flags was a nightmare. And that is putting it very, very, very mildly. So, we go to Six Flags, and the first thing that is unusual is the parking situation. Now, Six Flags does not have the greatest parking situation. You will get a workout walking from the parking lot to the front of the gate, usually. But one advantage is that you tend to park relatively quickly. Once you get past the gate, it's pretty easy to park. Well, today was the exact opposite. Getting through the gate was not a problem, but once we were through the gate, there were things set up the way they were doing it that made it take forever to park. Not only did it make it take forever to park, we parked the farthest away from the theme park we had ever parked before. A cool half a mile away from the entrance. Now, I don't mind this. In fact, this is a blessing in some respects. When we go to Six Flags, one of the things I like about going to Six Flags is we get steps in. We get a lot of steps in. We get so many steps in that even with how frankly bad I tend to eat there, because the food that comes in the dining pass is not good for you for the most part. Okay, not even for the most part. It's just not good for you. I still come home and my blood is still normal because of all the walking you do at Six Flags. So this is a benefit as far as I am concerned. But again, this is a lot farther than what it usually is, and maybe this should have signaled that something was really wrong. But it didn't at the time, and so we go into the park. And I figure the first thing we will do is we will go to member services and pick up the gift card. Now, I'm assuming there must be a lot of gift cards that they're giving out, and I mean, kudos to the people who paid for Six Flags throughout the pandemic. I mean, it really shows that Disney totally screwed up, because I think Disney fans would have paid for their annual passes and done it with pride. And all Disney would have to do is like maybe give like an exclusive pin set out every month and extend the membership. And Disney fans would have totally paid for that the entire pandemic. And Disney was too stupid to realize that, because a lot of people at Six Flags kept paying for the passes. But of course, this now adds a little bit of a problem. You go in and a line that is usually 15 to 20 minutes at most is now over an hour. So we decide, okay, let's get something to eat first. We'll get lunch first, then we'll get in this line. Well, we go in the app and we order food through, Katie does like the mac and cheese place. I do the munchies stand. The Wascals place to eat. The earliest you could go there is 3:30, which was like an hour away. And I didn't want to do that. But the funny thing is, it turns out I might as well have ordered from Waskell's because it didn't seem to matter. Because when I picked up the food at Munchies, despite it being ready in 15 minutes and me pressing the prepare food order and saying, oh, your order is ready, they didn't actually have a mobile pickup window. It was just a line. So I stood in line for, I would say, a little over an hour getting chicken strips and fries. Not a complicated menu item to make, but, you know, I waited over an hour to get it. And Katie, my wife, ended up waiting over an hour to pick up mac and cheese as well, because her place, the mobile order pickup window, also wasn't working. Now, for those of you who are not aware of what the mobile order is, basically there are a few windows for people to walk up, buy the food, they wait a few minutes, they pick the food. These lines tend to go by very, very slowly as a result of this nature. However, if you buy the food on their mobile app, they have a separate mobile window. You go to the window when the app notifies you that your food is ready, and it usually takes a few minutes to pick up. Now, there is sometimes still a little bit of a line, and you might wait 5 minutes or so, but it is overall a much faster, much smoother experience, except at this point. At this point, the mobile windows are closed. So mobile orders are being picked up along with the regular windows, and those regular windows lines move excruciatingly slow. Excruciatingly slow. But, I mean, we're not planning to ride any rides, technically, so we don't even say much about it. And I have to admit, it is nice to be in a position where we can take our refillable cups, hand it to them again, and they will fill it up, and we could walk away. By the way, on a side note, it looks like that Coca-Cola Freestyle spot where they also sold like the Legend of Zelda mugs and the Dragon Ball t-shirts, and was the only place that had Dasani water as part of the things you can get. Apparently, they have no intention of bringing that back. They took down the Coca-Cola sign. I'm sorry, that's a little bit of a side thing. Just thought of it, wanted to bring it up. So anyway, we eat our food. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not paying for it, technically speaking. I mean, I bought the dining pass, but that thing pays for itself very, very fast. Like, you know, here's my biggest advice. If you get a season pass and they offer a dining pass for an additional cost, accept it, pay it, whatever it costs, it is worth it, because in this case, we get 2 meals and a snack, and we always get $40, no, not even $40, like $80 when you combine the two of us worth of food. And the dining pass, I think, costs us an additional $100. So now they've raised it to $200, you know, when it's time to renew. So, you know, guess it'll cost more then, but it'll totally be worth it, in my opinion. And that's, of course, that's if we renew, and, you know, we're definitely getting to that. So this is like a strange thing. We get there at around 12:30. Because of the parking situation, we don't even set foot on the park until 1:45 because of how long it took to park and to walk to the entrance. Getting through security was shockingly pretty fast. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest, but it took a while to get there. Then the food takes a long time to get to, and by the time we're done, it's getting pretty close to 3:30. So obviously now's the time to get into line and get our gift card. Now this gift card is not as long. It's about 40 minutes to get through this line. Certainly longer than I've had to wait in the past, but compared to the last line, not terrible. Not terrible. Now at this point I start flirting with the idea of going to the Flash Pass Center, maybe picking up a few front of the line passes. Maybe we'll just sneak 1 or 2 rides in. But that has like a line that's way out the door. And just from the, outside observation, it's already looking like it's going to take an hour to get through that line, which kind of defeats the purpose in my opinion. And I'm like, okay, we're going to stick with our plan to not do any rides. But if we did want to do rides, oh my goodness, that would have added to the stress. So we go shopping with our new $640 gift card. We do get a lot of stuff. We get some glass mugs. I finally got my Six Flags shot glass with my name engraved on it, because that's such a quirky item. How do you not buy it? My wife picks up a couple shirts. We pick up a couple new masks, because even though we thought that we were kind of done with the masks, apparently we're going to be wearing masks for a long time because, well, I think you all know why we're going to be wearing masks for a long time, but we'll leave it at that. Anyway, so we might as well have some themed masks for when we go to Six Flags. And we even go to that Studio 65 shop, which I'd never been to before. We found like 3 Demon Slayer shirts there that we wanted. And again, we have a $640 gift card and 50% off at least. In a couple cases, it was 60% like they promised. Actually, if there is one thing I will say equivocally was a very good thing. I wanted to take this and get like an artwork piece or something. Well, Six Flags does not sell artwork pieces like Universal Studios and Disneyland does. But they do have sculptures of like Batman, Superman. You might notice I'm a little bit of a sculpture collector. Just a little bit. So, yeah. We get a Jim Lee inspired Batman figurine and a Wonder Woman lasso figurine that was inspired by 1984, that movie, that Wonder Woman 1984, which I actually like. I know a lot of people don't. I do kind of like it. Oh, what's in those boxes over there? PlayStation 5s. Yes, I'm still getting PlayStation 5s, and yes, I am absolutely scalping them. No, I feel no shame about this. It's helping me save for a house. But you can look at my other channel for that information. Anyway. So the great thing about this is those sculptures they have signs. There are no discounts on these figurines, and that's fine. They're collectibles, they're expensive, totally understand that. But they scanned the pass and we got 50% off those. So we got 2 very good sculptures and 2 masks for $108, and it's like, wow. One of those sculptures was $150, so I think we got more than 50% off. Because no, maybe that's right, because the Wonder Woman was like 70. But anyway, they actually honored the 50% off discount, so I was very happy with that. That was unquestionably the best part of the day. Went a little downhill after that, though, because it is now 4:35, and fearing a repeat of what happened at lunch, I tell my wife, let's order the dinner now because we might not get it for an hour. So she orders a slice of pizza, I get a burger, and we're waiting in our lines. And we're waiting. And we're waiting. And 7:15 rolls around, and these lines, by the way, actually did have their mobile ordering windows open, but they were insanely crowded. And I don't think all the people in those lines had even ordered on their mobile phones, because the lines didn't move. They just didn't. My line, they got through a person every 15 minutes. And Katie's line wasn't much better. Like, It's like, imagine being here, well, here, and 15 minutes later, you're here. And then 15 minutes later, you're here. Then 20 minutes later, you're here. Well, this is where we are at 4:35. This is where we are at 7:20. We still got all of this way to go before we even get our food. And I said, you know what? If we were working right now, we could have made we could have made enough money to buy something on the way home. And I'm just extremely annoyed at this point. And one thing I didn't mention is that throughout this whole time, Six Flags is requiring people to... Now, here's the thing, Happy Last. Yes, they are supposed to do it like Costco. But here's the thing. My food was ready at 4:40. And at 7:20, I'm still in line waiting for it because I'm even in front of window number 3. Window number 3. That's my window number. And it's not moving. It's just not moving. And all 4 of the window numbers were like that. This was extremely bad. And granted, I don't go to Six Flags for the highest quality of service. I know that when it comes to theme parks, Six Flags tends to be a little on the lower end of great customer service, but this was just bad. This was bad. Like, we were coming up to 3 hours and we did not have the food. We weren't even close to getting that food. And I just said, you know, I'm just too annoyed. We have to leave. We just have to leave. This is not worth it. Like, and so I started we start walking away, and I was kind of thinking to myself, man, what if we had wanted to do rides? What if we decided we wanted to ride some rides? How are we going to do that if we were like in line for 5 hours? Like, cause like, what if we had waited like another hour and actually got the food? What if we had been waiting for 5 hours just to get food? Like, that is not good, and it's so not worth the time. Well, we get to the front, and by the way, throughout this whole time, Six Flags is requiring people to wear masks again, and they're telling people to social distance, but they're not doing a very good job at enforcing that. There's a lot of people who are not wearing masks. There is virtually no social distancing going on. I understand that you are much better protected when you are vaccinated, which we are, but the Delta variant has shown a lot of breakthrough cases, and so we need to be continuing this until the pandemic is under control. We are still in the pandemic, and yet you would know it was a pandemic in here, and it's like, this is not a good environment for what is going on right now. And here's the other thing. Some people say, well, look, if you got vaccinated, you get sick, you'll probably survive. Yeah, but people with compromised immune systems, like my wife, they are still at much higher risk, and I'm not going to risk my wife's health to stand in line for crappy pizza. I'm just not going to do it. So I'm already having serious second thoughts about going back. But, you know, I decided, okay, let's do one more. Let's give this place one more chance. We still have a snack, and now I'm getting hungry because I haven't eaten dinner. We could not get through the line to get our dinner. It just was not working. So we go to the Plaza Cafe, and I'll order my Dippin' Dots root beer float. That one takes 20 minutes to pick up. 20 minutes. That's what I expected it to be. That's how it should have been for all the places with the mobile ordering. But for lunch, none of the mobile order windows are open for whatever reason. And I guess it's fine that they weren't open, because when we did go to places where the mobile order windows were open, it didn't matter. It took so long that I eventually just gave up. It wasn't even worth it. So I do something that I've really never done before. I actually go to the guest services building, because I'm going to officially file a complaint. This is ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. It's just whatever their system is, it's not working. You should not be waiting more than 30 minutes in line, at least in the mobile order line, because that food was sent to the, to the front. They should have made it. They alerted us that it's done. We should be allowed to go pick it up. Why were we in line for all that time? That clearly the system's failing. So we go to complain. Of course, there's a line for getting into guest services, and I totally understand why there would be a line this time. There usually isn't a long line for guest relations at Six Flags because, complaints are, it's not that they're rare, but there's usually not many, or at least not enough to make the line super long. Tonight, the line was, or yesterday, I should say, the line was really long. Ironically, we kind of assumed it would be, so we grabbed our desserts to eat it in line. Might as well. I mean, it'll save a little bit of time. But here's the funny thing. So when we get in line, I kind of look in there, and there's like some people there, and in the far right, on the right side, there are a couple teenage boys there. Now here's why it's going to be important in a minute, but let me tell you what's going on. So we're waiting in line. And basically we wait in line for 50 minutes. 50 minutes to file a complaint, which the funny thing was, by the time we got to the front, I told Katie, we're going to complain about waiting in this line as well. Like, these lines are ridiculous. And the crowds outside, there's nothing but a sea of heads. It's so far from a safe area right now. Like, this is not how you're supposed to be crowding a place during a pandemic. There should be much less people than this, but whatever. Maybe they don't care at this point. So we get to the front. After 50 minutes, those two boys were still there, which was like, my goodness. First of all, are these boys one of the reasons that this line's being held up? Because these boys, two people were helping them. Two. Like, what could have possibly occurred that, two employees need to be working on this case? And also, why are they still there? I can't imagine a scenario, because Six Flags does not give refunds. What scenario would be there where you would be inspired to be there for 50 minutes of your time? I mean, look, I'll get on YouTube and I'll spend 27 minutes and 45 seconds, whatever, complaining about this stuff, because what the heck, I can monetize the complaint. But I don't know what they could have been doing. It's like, at that point, kind of like my thing with the food, at one point there's a point of diminishing returns. Whatever you're aiming for, it cannot possibly be worth this trouble. Of course, I probably should have listened to my own advice and not stood in line for this. So, to a certain extent, I'm guilty about that. But there you go. So when it's finally our turn, we explain, this is not okay. These lines are ridiculous. Like, the system is not working. We should not have waited an hour for lunch. We did, but we shouldn't have had to wait an hour. But we really should not have had to have waited 3 hours for dinner and not have even gotten that. And I said, what if we had actually tried to go on rides? Like, we would essentially we'd have gotten on maybe one ride because we're too busy waiting for food. Food that you have a mobile system that people can order it and it can be sent to you and you can make it and you can call them to the window. But when you go to the window, there are huge crowds of people and they're not moving. They're not going anywhere. Like, what was up with this? Their response was to give me 2 front of the line tickets extra for next time. But X2 and West Coast racers are excluded. Really? I basically told you that I wasted 4 hours of my life in lines for things that at most should have taken a half hour to get. Let's be honest. They have a system. It has worked in the past. I've seen it work in the past. It's not perfect, but it definitely is sophisticated enough that these waits should not have been this long. And your response is to give me 2 front of the line passes extra, which I don't even know if I can use because we don't always use the 4 that we get. And you're going to exclude rides from it to boot. Great. So we leave. I take one more moment to observe these crowds, these absolutely huge crowds, most people maskless. I assume there's at least a good portion of them not vaccinated. This is not a safe environment, really. And for that matter, this wasn't even worth it. I mean, I'm glad we made the conscious decision not to go on any rides because we wouldn't have been able to go on any rides. I mean, I even looked at the Fast Pass thing. What if it had taken an hour? What if it had taken 2 hours to get front of the line tickets? The ones that, we get with our membership. Like, would that have made any sense that would have been worth it to us? I don't know. It has made me really question whether or not I want to stay a member of Six Flags. Now, I didn't cancel my membership right there and then. I feel that it's worth another chance. Maybe there was just a ton of circumstances that just led to this. Maybe they had new staff that were inexperienced. Maybe because Fright Fest is has pretty much just opened. Maybe they were overwhelmed with an abundance of people who are coming to do Fright Fest as well as Six Flags. Maybe just a couple cooks called it in. Maybe because of that extra crowd, it's not being communicated well that the mobile order line and the regular line is different. And as a result, at one point, they just gave up trying and the system fell apart. Like I said, it wasn't a complete loss. Those sculptures, we should not have been able to get 50% off those sculptures. And you'll probably see them in the background at some point when we figure out what we want to do, because I'd like to put Batman there and Wonder Woman there. Yeah. Problem is, those are wedding photos. And I don't know if my wife will let me move them. I also don't want to put them up there, though, because we're saving a spot for Sailor Moon when we get a Sailor Moon figurine. And, I don't know. So hopefully you guys can see them. They're very nice statues, and we should not have been able to get 50% off them, but we did, and that was very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. But that was overall very ridiculous. We had a plan to just go in for a few hours. Let's get some food. Let's do some shopping. Let's get our gift card. Let's leave. 4 hours at most. By 8:30, we finally got back to our car. And of course, with the drive home, because here's the thing, even when you're LA, Six Flags, Magic Mountain is not close. It's at least an hour drive, usually longer because of traffic. Thankfully, on the way home, it's usually a lot less because there's not so much traffic. So here's the thing. We're going to keep these, and we will probably go back to Magic Mountain. In fact, we will go back to Magic Mountain. I mean, especially since we didn't even come close to using all of that gift card. Like, we're gonna wipe that thing out. It's gonna be used for Christmas shopping or things like that. But I'm gonna be honest, this was a very, very disappointing day. And it was excruciatingly painful just standing in those lines. I say sitting, but it really was standing, surrounded by so many people, and it's not a safe environment. So I'm not going to lie, if that does not change the next couple times, if we go back and we find that lunch is taking an hour or more to get food and stuff again, then we have to not go there anymore. I mean, this isn't worth it at that point. Now, I do, and the other thing is, I mean, and Happy Last just pointed out, I do want to share some sympathies with the park. It's tough when things reopen. This is true. And when people are understaffed, that contributes to problems. And we do have an employment crisis going on right now for a number of different reasons. You know, some people say it's because, you know, people were paid too much in unemployment benefits and they didn't want to go back to work. Other people say they're not getting paid enough anyway, and this pandemic really made them think maybe I should get a better job, and a lot of people did get better jobs. I happen to think it's a little of both. I think it's complicated. I think that both positions are definitely good reasons. Now, the unemployment benefit isn't really going to be there anymore to my knowledge. Like, is California keeping that going? See, I was only on unemployment for like 2.5 weeks during the pandemic, so I don't know. That was definitely the most I'd ever gotten for unemployment, though. I could see that if you were on that for months, that you could get very spoiled to being on that. But so I want to acknowledge that there's probably some growing pains. But it's also strange because I did go to Six Flags a couple times in the last few months, and it's never been this bad. This was shockingly, unbelievably bad. So I'm hoping it's a one-off thing. Hopefully things will improve again. I'm not looking for perfection. I know that lines are just kind of part of the deal when you go to Six Flags or really any theme park. But kind of like how we stopped going to Disneyland when the prices went way too high for my liking, but then not only did they go super high, but it didn't seem to be helping the lines very much. We were still standing in line for an average of 2 hours a line, and it's like, you know, that's not the most productive use of my time. Six Flags at least gives us some front of the line passes, so once we get through those, then we usually leave. But this was just an extremely bad day. The system definitely failed. It was ridiculous. I actually wasn't even completely happy with the response. We'll just give you 2 front of the line passes with the exception of these 2 rides. They could have at least made that any ride you wanted to, but that doesn't really make up for like the lost time in my eyes, especially since we get so many front of the lines anyway. But there you go. Hopefully it will get a little better. We won't really have time, be having time to go to Six Flags very much, though. My wife is having to get surgery, and that's actually one of the other reasons that I've been taking a break. Aside from the fact that I want to make videos, properly edit them, and things like that, you know, I'm going to need to take care of her, so my time's going to be spent. But like I said, it was 1 a.m. It's almost 2 because we've been talking a while, or I've been talking for a while, and figured out what the heck. When people have bad experiences, they tend to rant. So here's a rant. But that's going to be where we end this one. And to Happy Lass and the other person, whoever it is, who's been watching the whole time, thank you for spending your time with me so early in the morning. Thank you for listening to the ramblings of definitely a first world problem. I mean, you read the news about other countries and you realize standing in line at Six Flags is not high on things wrong with the world, but it was personally very annoying to me. So obviously I'm going to rant about it. But anyway, they still haven't given us our new badges that shows that we are in this super elite club. So now that's a true first world problem, but you know, we won't worry about that. My biggest problem was that those lines, they need to do something about that, because that cannot continue. But anyway, thank you all for joining me. We are coming up to about 40 minutes. That was way longer than I thought I was going to spend talking. I thought I would talk for maybe 20 minutes, but then, you know, you recount the day. So anyway, thank you for joining. Thank you for the like. Thank you for the comments. Definitely appreciate that. We're still scheduled to come back to a more regular schedule in early to mid-October. So have a good night and flame responsibly.